a good spot. I think you got it figured out. Have you had any?
I'm still getting used to it.
Have you had any problems with the new mic?
The only issue I think I've come across, and I just haven't had enough time to go over it, is every once in a while I kind of hear like a knocking noise. It's like a continuous knock, and then it lasts for like 30 seconds, then it goes away.
I think that's a sign of an incoming stroke. You might
No,
want
and
to check with your doctor.
I think that's when like the left side of your body starts to go numb and you start looking droopy.
And you hear a knock for 30 seconds. The doctor's like, well, either you're having a stroke or you just brought a brand new microphone for your computer.
Both.
I'm gonna prescribe you a podcast. Go ahead and test it out and see if there's any knocking. Call me in the morning.
Well, first off, no doctor says call me in the morning ever.
They don't say that? Is that just something that TV has prescribed into our head? Like, yeah, the doctors tell you to call them in the morning.
Yeah, it says, and then on top of that, it's like, oh, you can go to just about any hospital and find the best doctor in the world and spend months in there, and they tried to almost kill you, and it didn't cost you a thing.
I bet. I'd be willing to bet there's some, you know how like there are sport teams where like there's not really like any standout player on the team. Like everyone's just kind of average.
Like they can't, like the sportscasters can't even like figure out anybody on the team. There's like, their quarterback's terrible, but I think their O-line is really where the problem's at.
Like they're struggling to string together nice things to say. I'd be willing to bet that there are hospitals like that where it's like on their best day, it's 50-50 on if you're coming out of there on your feet or in a body bag.
Honestly, they just sit there, they all gather around for like their morning meetings, and they're like, all right, Johnson's case, number 372, we're going to flip a coin. Heads, he lives. Tails, he dies.
Give him the new guy. Put the rookie in. Let's see what he does. Get in there, Dr. Smith. I'm sure. I'm sorry to any Dr. Smiths who are hearing this. There probably aren't any. They're probably too busy getting sued medical malpractice. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Kaufman, also known as Nick Fat Knight on the Twitter. This is Josh. What else are you known as, Josh?
I'm Josh Saying, only on Twitch right now. I haven't gone through the rest of my social media, but we'll get that going eventually. Just I'm lazy.
So bad. I'm so sad I let that pun happen. I'm so sad they let you go with that.
I'm Josh Saying.
I'm Josh Saying here.
I mean, it's better than I'm joshing you. Like, dear God, how many times have I heard that joke in the past week alone?
No, I'm joshing. Oh my God. And yeah, you're getting together with older family members. Oh, your boss?
Well, not like my boss, like the head honcho of the company. He said it like earlier this week, and I just had to shake my head like, yeah, that's funny. I'm just like, it took everything in me not to like,
Did he rib you? Did he rib you in the butt? Did he rib you like, hey, Josh, right? Your name's Josh.
Yeah, I just kind of took it. It's like, you signed my paycheck.
Okay, I'm letting you do this.
His name is on the building. He comes in a convertible, for Christ's sake. I can't do anything to him. It's just, yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your mild inconvenience at work and your name.
As long as they keep paying me, I'll take it.
So everybody, this is Smashing Game Time, SGT for short. We are going to work SEO to get SGT. It's going to happen. People are going to hear SGT and be like, oh, you mean those Smashing Game Time guys. Our mission, we are going through the year of gaming. So you know how most podcasts end with a yearly review of like, oh, 2021, what the fuck happened? We're going to go starting with 2000, work all the way up to 2021. Maybe eventually we go back in time. Maybe not, because, a lot of those games are old and don't really hold the test of time. Some of the games we're talking about today are old and maybe don't hold the test of time. Josh, all these games can legally drink.
Yes, well, not all of them. There are some that are just a few days shy.
There are some 20-year-olds that were born at the end of the year, December, in 2000, of these games that we're going to talk about that are like still holding out to get their alcohol. I was looking at the year and it's kind of a crazy year. Like, how like in movies, people say like 1999 was like a chef kiss of a year. You have like The Matrix, what is it? A Beautiful Mind's in there. I don't have the list in front of me, so I can only name two, but people like gush over the 1999 movies. I was going through this list of games and going, this is a really good fucking year.
I mean, when you threw out the idea of 2000, I was like, well, I don't know if there's, too much to talk about. But honestly, I forgot there are so many fantastic titles that came out this year. And it's almost like a shame because a lot of them were like the ones that maybe for like the first few years they were out were really good and they kind of got buried. And it's like, man, I remember playing that as a kid. Why don't I play it now? Because they were just so good at the time, but now it's kind of died down because either the hype is no longer there, or they've been around for so, the franchises have been around for so long that, you know, they just it's almost started to blend in with everything. Like you get like for example, Call of Duty. Call of Duty's been around forever, but now we're going into their like 20th title at this point, and it's just like, oh, it's the same stuff over and over again. You can't come up with just something slightly better that improves on what you already had the best of.
I remember the old days when a Call of Duty game was a PC exclusive. You console players, you couldn't touch it. Those were the days. And then Big Red 1 happened, and they're like, these consoles, everybody has them. These PC people, there's only a few of them. Get the fuck out of here. But yeah, so looking back at 2000, what do you say we look at the year 2000, Josh? In the year 2000, in the year 2000. It's a banger of a year, and it started in January. People love or hate this series. I really liked. I wasn't big on this sequel, but I was big on the first one and the third one. Mario Party 2.
I mean, let's face it, Mario Party in general, up until, in my opinion at least, up until the fourth, were fantastic. I mean, I remember as a kid playing them. I think we probably did at least once or twice a week for like hours upon hours, trying to get as many stars and beat a family with 5 kids. I mean,
Well,
what else is there to do?
The unfortunate thing is one of those kids is going to be sitting out. The second unfortunate thing is that I think we used to play 50 turns sometimes.
Oh, we did. There are some that got crazy, and we always say whoever had the least amount of stars had to pass off the controller.
Yeah, and you know what? By the end of the 50 turns, like everybody wanted to pass off the controller. Nobody wanted it. Like, need to get away from this Nintendo 64. That started out the year, and then there were a few where I wasn't like. There's a good mix of like Japanese releases in here where I was like, I don't know what this is. Like, I don't know if you know what Dragon Warrior Monsters is.
No idea, to be honest. I assume it's like some type of wave based. I can't think of the name of it. Almost like Hyrule Warriors, or you know what I mean.
Well, and now that I've clicked,
sounds like
now that I've clicked on it, so this is a Square Enix game. If you click on the link, you'll see the box, and like you'll probably be like, oh, I've seen this. It's like the little boy chasing the little blue like monster guy that kind of looks like he's from Fall Guys.
Dear God, you're right.
And this was the Game Boy Color. So I think I remember this commercial like being plastered. Like you couldn't go anywhere without seeing Game Boy Color commercials. And this is one that's like plastered in my mind. And it looks like this is based on the Dragon Quest Monster series, which I have no experience with. I think you're a little more into the niche of like the Japanese RPGs.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy more of the JRPGs, and I think that's just because they're like the blueprint to an RPG at this point, almost. I mean, you can't go anywhere without knowing like Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest. I mean, just all those huge JRPGs that everybody knows. I'm like, oh my God, they're on their 50th game already.
I'm sorry, so I'm on the Wikipedia page for this Dragon Warrior Monsters. And I scrolled down and saw breeding, and I'm very immature, so I couldn't handle it. I was trying to keep it in.
Yeah.
They did it. They did a 3DS remake. People like this game. So going back to the list, so we're still in January. Nox, and then we jump into February, and I think this is the very first release of this. I don't think this is like the re-release that would come like almost a year or two later. The Resident Evil Code Veronica, not Code Veronica X, just Code Veronica.
Yeah, so that's the original. That's what started the Veronica, and the Veronica X is like the remaster / more like director's cut.
What did they add to it? Because I'm gonna be honest, I've played Code Veronica. I've maybe gotten out of the jail and played like the first 5, 6, 7 rooms with zombies, and then got stuck and was like, "Fuck this game."
If I remember correctly, there was like they moved some things around, like placements were different. They fixed a lot of the bugs, and if I remember correctly, there's a couple extra new cutscenes and details about the story.
So little done.
But you got to think there are people right now who are like, oh, how they're working on all the remasters. People are wanting Code Veronica bad.
Well, it's crazy because they did 2, they did 3, and I think is 4 official, or is it still rumored?
It's technically it's official because the guy who is currently supposed to voice Wesker has apparently broken his non-disclosure agreement and sent off pictures on Twitter. I don't know if that is still 100% official or not, but that was like last week or the week before, maybe.
I think I heard that too, and I think I also heard that like he came back and said, "Hey, like I no longer work for them." So I don't know if it was like a disgruntled employee type thing. I'm gonna read it more up on it, but that's hilarious that of all people who outed it, it was the guy playing Wesker.
Right.
And he's not even is he in the story of 4? He might be like in a quick cutscene like Ada Wong, go get those viruses that we
Yeah. In the
need.
original 4, I mean, that's all he was. He was just talking to Ada saying, "Hey, I needed to get this," and then she's like, "Yeah, screw you." Boom, like sets a bomb off in his place or whatever.
So basically the guy that was there for probably one cutscene and then just did a bunch of like for like the gameplay and the mercenary mode, just outed the game. Oh
Yeah, pretty much. It's all
yeah,
a couple grunts.
I just did all my grunts for it. Yeah, it's coming out. What are you talking about?
Easy 30 grand right there. All I had to do was grunt a couple times.
So then after that, the very next day, The Sims, not like a random Sims game, The Sims came out. PC
They're a big-
exclusive at the time.
Culturally, it's probably one of the bigger game changers for sure. Because I mean, The Sims. You're simulating life at that point. You can do just about anything. I don't remember if one could do it, but you could literally just purposely kill off your sim just to see death come in and take your characters away. But one of the very first games to give you so many options. On top of that, I think it was the first game at its time to introduce like true DLC. I'm not talking like Nintendo's satellite or you know what I mean, or like expansion disc. But it was like one of the very first ones to introduce like, oh, we're gonna bring in Sims pets or whatever. You know what I mean?
Like not like DLC in a sense. I think I get what you're saying. DLC is in like you still need the original game to play this,
Yes.
but like this is like a big pack that's like adding to it
Expansion packs, yeah.
that isn't basically an expansion pack. Whereas like on this list, there's DLC for Age of Empires 2, which I think is a new campaign and probably a newer faction. I believe so. Like DLC was around, but I get what you're saying by the way they kind of reinvented, kind of
Yeah, like you
changed
look
it
at
up.
the other one. Yeah, you look at like all the other games. A lot of them were like play on your own. Where I think this actually was like enticed into the main game itself.
So I'm
If
going
that
down the
makes sense.
list. So Sims 2 was in 2004, 3 was in 2009, and then 4 was 2014. Wow, it's been 7 years since the last Sims game. Wow, just wow.
And there's, if I remember correctly, they're still releasing DLC for it.
They still are. It's like if you go into Target, and this might be the same for Best Buy, a good chunk of the PC games you're seeing are Sims expansions.
So if it's not Sims expansions, it's World of Warcraft.
And the only other box I can think of that I've ever seen retail for PC is like Overwatch, and that's in the last few years. I'm sure when we were younger there were a lot more, but I've seen like the Diablo box set now that I'm thinking about it. Moving on to February 10th, there's Vagrant Story. So when I was doing my research on Vagrant Story, I didn't realize that it was considered part of the Final Fantasy Tactics lore.
Yeah, because it takes place in Avalos, right?
Yeah, I did not realize. I knew that Tactics and 12 were like in the same world. I don't. Are there some similar characters shared between them?
Not really. So, if I remember correctly, chronological order, it goes Tactics, technically Tactics Advanced and Advanced 2, because yeah, even though they're set in the modern time, they get transported to Ivos then, and then it goes to Final Fantasy 12 because it's more futuristic since they're introducing like steam, not really steampunk, but they brought in like airships and there's more technology.
This looks like a PS1 ass game, but they still got like the watercolor art in there. Okay, so moving on then. So SNK Gal Fighters, I guess that was a fighting game from them. I'm gonna guess it's all gals. And then if you keep moving down through February, so then you skip down to February 29th. So 2000 was a leap year. Josh, tell me how you feel about this release day, February 29th, 2000. It just show us the peak of your interest by the reaction on your face. Are you ready? Battlesphere. Dead or Alive 2.
I mean, Who
Need
doesn't
for
like the physics?
God damn it. Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed.
Uh,
Rayman 2 The Great Escape.
I remember playing the crap out of that one.
Sword of the Berserk Guts Rage.
Never played it, to be honest.
And then Pokemon Stadium.
Okay, at this point, who hasn't played Pokemon? At some point in everybody's childhood, boy, girl, whatever, you've played Pokemon Stadium. Maybe not recently, but you've played Pokemon Stadium.
I have memories of going through, I think it was a castle area and battling different, like it's kind of like the path of like battling all the gym leaders. I didn't say they were fond memories, but I have memories of doing that. And I also have memories of like the Lick-a-Tongue mini game where you're collecting food off the conveyor belt.
I totally forgot about the mini games in that.
And I remember how, first of all, how the hell were kids like smart enough to like, oh, I can take my Pokemon Yellow cartridge and plug it into this thing and then plug the thing into the back of my Nintendo 64 controller and then I can pull my level 5 Pikachu and watch it get destroyed by these fucking level 100s in the normal mode of the game.
I remember at one point we got really smart and we were like, well, if we do the infinite rare candy trick in red and blue and level our Pokemon up to 100 and then do the cheats where we can like stack their stats left and right. Then I remember putting them in there and we would just destroy all of the level one. Was it level 100 or was it level 99 Pokemon?
I think it was level 99 but there was also like I think it was like the baby cup or something where like every Pokemon was level 5 and you could only carry your Pokemon in if they were level 5. So basically you captured your Pokemon and then they had to like go straight into Pokemon Stadium.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, you'd only do that if you wanted a particular set of moves, though.
So yeah, I don't remember that much detail about it. I just remember bringing a Pikachu in and watching him get completely fucking destroyed. Like you know when Ash turns to stone and Pikachu starts crying, like it was the opposite. Like Pikachu was just like roadkill on the side of the road, and I'm just sitting there like bawling. Going back a little bit, Rayman 2 The Great Escape. So like we played the hell out of the first Rayman, which was a 2D side scroller, like platformer. And I remember Rayman The Great Escape like overwhelming me because I was like, "Oh my god, this is that Rayman The Great Escape might have been my first 3D platformer." I think we played it before we played like Super Mario or Crash Bandicoot or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. It was, and honestly, I remember getting like towards the end, like the last section, and I remember like getting pissed because I remember we were trying to play it. We would sit there and like take turns on trying to do it because none of us could beat it. And I remember one particular time we were at grandma's waiting to our grandmother's to go shopping at the flea market. And I remember we were trying forever. We stayed up all night basically trying to do this. We could never do it. I remember getting to the end, but that's as far as we ever got.
Did we rent that or did we own it?
We owned it because grandma bought it for us.
I just remember it being a green cartridge and I remember hating that fucking thing. That and Donkey Kong 64 is just like, you both piss me off so much.
Yeah, more Rayman in my opinion, but Donkey Kong 64, I also remember long nights playing that.
I never beat it, but sure, it was fine. I just remember being overwhelmed.
Well, I mean, like I said, it was our first taste of a 3D platformer, and the controls were not well tuned.
They were not the greatest. They were very. If I remember, like Rayman was very floaty,
and his punches never seemed to connect, even though you're like at the right distance.
So also, to be fair, I think we played on Nintendo 64. It might have been a little better on the Dreamcast. I think Nintendo 64 got the poopy versions of everything.
Are you saying I need to locate the Dreamcast version and play it?
Do you have it? You have a Dreamcast, right?
I do have a Dreamcast, yeah.
We might have to play that. Going into March, and we're not going to look at a game right now. Josh, the PS2 released in Japan in March of 2000.
And that's, man, the PS2, honestly, if I'm going to sit there and like have to pick the console to go back and play, to be able to play every single game, it has to be the PS2.
Look at this beautiful thing. Like they got it. Sony got it right the second time. Like smash your PS3s, 4s, 5s, PSPs, and Vitas. Like this was the one.
The PS2 was and was the god console, if there was ever one, in my opinion.
I feel like I'm gonna open this and there's a disc in there. This was a gift from Josh, and I feel like Josh, is there gonna be a questionable DVD in this PS2?
I don't know. I bought it and never opened it. I bought it from some kid. So your guess is as good as mine.
But Well, and the other crazy part about that is that there were different region releases. Like you don't see that anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. And so this comes out in Japan in March. It doesn't come to America until I believe I read it was October. And so it's crazy to me that gaming was at a point where a PS2 would come out in Japan, and like this was like the internet was around, but the internet was still starting like to grow into what it was going to be. Like building hype by like getting Japan all riled up about it. And then everyone else is like, oh my God, did you see the PS2 over there? I don't know how they would have seen it. There wasn't streaming or anything, but it's crazy to think that they used to stagger releases like that.
Well, I think it was at the time it was to prepare launch. I mean, the PlayStation was such a huge success.
And
I think if I remember correctly, it was hard to even track one down for the longest time. Not like how it is now with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S, but it was still pretty hard.
They didn't think PS1 was going to be a hit.
No, so I think that's why they did with PS2. Like, hey, we're going to release in specific countries at specific times to help that fact, because I mean, how otherwise? I mean, think about it. With if I remember correctly, I think they stopped doing region last. So the Xbox One, the PS4, I think those aren't region locked. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, Nick.
We need an intern who can do all our research for us while we're talking.
Yes, yeah. So I know the Switch is not region locked because they tell you if you want to find a game cheaper at a time, like if you want to go over to Europe because it's cheaper, get a second account, have that account be in based in Europe, buy it there because you can play it anywhere.
I remember the 360 PS3 era being region locked. I remember hearing a lot of people talking about like having like Japanese copies of games and stuff. I don't think last gen was region locked. We'll double check it. We'll put it in the show notes if we're right or wrong. We won't. Need for Speed. I mean, it's Need for Speed. I don't think it's the first one. Cool that it's Porsche though. Dead or Alive 2. What needs to be said? People were goo goo for those physics. Who knew? Gamers were grotesque at the time. They still are.
Nothing's changed.
So I digress. We're in March. Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. So that new Kirby that's coming out has been hailed as like the first 3D Kirby. And I saw this and I was like, wait a minute. They forgot about this. But so this is a 3D Kirby, but it's it's 3D, 2D like side scroller.
2.5.
Yeah, it's a 2.5. So nobody caught Nintendo. They were right. I don't really fuck with Kirby. Do you fuck with Kirby?
No, we had Kirby. I think it was Kirby All Stars.
Kirby All Stars was fun.
That was the only Kirby we fucked with, to be honest. I mean, Kirby is Kirby. What else can I tell you? He's gonna suck in an enemy. He's gonna take their abilities, and he's gonna destroy shit. It's Kirby.
You know, for this being a Nintendo 64 game, it doesn't look half bad. They're on a little raft. They're floating. They're having fun.
The Nintendo 64 could have been a fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still a great console. Could have been so much better if they had released that expansion pack prior. You know what I mean? Like, had that be a standard piece for the more RAM.
You know, because you needed that for. I think you need it for Donkey Kong. You need it for Majora's Mask, which we'll get to Majora's Mask later. Don't you worry. I think Nintendo should have just like swallowed its pride and made Nintendo 64 a disc-based console. But you know how Nintendo is.
True. That is very true.
Nintendo does what Nintendo wants to do whenever Nintendo wants to do it.
Hey, there's a reason why Mario hasn't been sold off yet.
It's me, Mario.
And there goes all of our funding. Good night, everyone.
They're like, Mario, we need you for another game. Please put me out of my misery.
No, he's like the soldier of fortune, like in the woods. I ended that career years ago. I'm retired.
Oh, that's a perfect segue. Now I'm starting to see why these podcast people love their segues. Soldier of Fortune came out March 27. Soldier of Fortune is pretty freaking violent, if I remember correctly. I remember seeing, I think Soldier of Fortune 2 was the first game I ever saw get reviewed on XPlay. And I just remember like them like shooting the heads off of people.
Oh man, I remember that too.
And I think this is PC only. This was not for you console players. This was for the big boys. Oh wow, there's an actual.
No, I think I think it was released for the Dreamcast and PS2 eventually.
Well, first of all, normal thing in the 2000s, we need a creepy subway interior for you guys to go through. Oh, he's just gunning these Oh my god, that guy's arm fell off. Oh, what the fuck? There was a body and he was just sitting there dying and he shot it and the leg popped off. Like, yeah, soldier of fortune, everybody. Violence, video game
heck,
violence.
Nick, on the cover, it even says warning. I mean, that tells you how graphic it's going to be.
They did more than the M rating on it?
Oh, it had the rain, but it had a warning label on it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yep, warning. Rounding out March, you had Final Fight Revenge. We played a Final Fight game, right? That was the one where you were on top of a train and like it had the one guy with the jacket. Is that Terry? And like if you won, he threw his hat up and like.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So yeah, that might have been Final Fight 3.
Is that Final Fight or was that King of Fighters?
You know what? It might have been King of Fight. There were so many fighting games. Like looking at this list, there are so many fighting games, and I was like, why? Why do we need this many fighting games? And then I remembered
that was taking over the market, and everyone else was like, "Oh, we can make a fighting game."
And then I remembered this was like the arcades were still around, but they were kind of on the way out. So this was companies like, "Oh, we got these consoles, we gotta get these games out. Nobody wants our arcade machines. We gotta put this on the PlayStation DOS." Wario Land 3. That was a Game Boy Color game. I didn't know they made 3 of them. If you had asked me, Nick, what's your favorite Wario Land game? My answer would have been, there's more than one?
Oh, see, I didn't even know there were Wario Land games until like a few years ago. I just said, if everybody says, what's your favorite Wario game? WarioWare. I mean, how could you not?
The Wario game for GameCube was pretty good. Don't sleep on it, Josh.
Yeah, it was WarioWare, wasn't it?
The GameCube one was like a 3D platformer.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, it was a 3D platformer, I promise.
You're gonna make me go look now. I'll look later. I gotta focus.
I'm only bringing this one up because of who the developer was. I was surprised that these guys have been around this long. But then if you go back and look at like what, so this is MDK2 by your favorite BioWare, who did Mass Effect, Jade Empire, KOTOR. And this kind of looks rough. Oh, this is an HD version, so
I didn't even know they were on this long. That's impressive.
There's a dog in a thong. It's like a dog man in a thong. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what BioWare was into at the time. Eventually, like somebody looked at this and was like, "Somebody give these motherfuckers the Star Wars license right now."
Yeah, they were just trying whatever they can to make a living at that point. I gotta give them kudos for that.
Well, don't feel bad for BioWare. They're doctors. They got the money. Third-person shooter action adventure video game. Scrolling down, I think we're finally in April. Josh,
before we pick out the next game, Nick.
Yes.
Do you know what happened in April of that year?
Of 2000?
Yes.
Is this on a personal level or is this gaming-wise?
Gaming-wise, of course.
No, what happened in April?
Nintendo sold its 100 millionth Game Boy Color handheld.
That's a lot of Game Boys.
A lot of Game Boys.
Like there's an issue. There was a Game Boy issue when your air flight attendant gets on the beacon and says, "Hey, put your motherfucking Game Boys away. This plane's taking off."
Is that a real thing?
Yeah. Turn your Game Boys and Game Girls off, please. This flight is taking off. It's right around time they don't do it anymore because nobody plays fucking Game Boys. But
yeah, they play their Switches.
Yeah, and it's back when we didn't know what planes were. They were very new to us all. You could smoke on a plane. You could look out on the wing and see a monster destroying the wing, but nobody believes you if you tell them the monster's destroying the wing.
It's the 1960s. Like what the heck?
They were different times, Josh. Different times. Now, this is pod racing, Josh. Star Wars Episode 1, Racer. Why didn't this take off?
Because it was a racing game off a terrible meme.
But
not
Josh,
a meme at the time.
Pod Racer. Look at this. Look at this beautiful. Somebody decided to put this in 1440p. Look at this.
So I have to ask this though, Nick. How many races were there in the movie?
Just one. Two if you like if you really try to wing it. But look at how fast they're going. How can you not watch this and not go, now this is pod racing?
Look at those graphics. I mean, I get it. It's an older game. Don't judge me. But now, am I reading this right? It got re-released with an HD re-release for the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch.
Why aren't we playing this?
Why are we not? I mean, why would we even consider it?
This should be like downloaded on your Switch right now. Like when the show is over, I should be able to drive over, pick up your Switch, and be pod racing on Tatooine.
I'm not even gonna give it that a thought. I no, just no.
You're a disappointment to us all, Josh.
I'm okay with that.
Say goodbye. You are no longer on this podcast. Moving on from pod racing, one of the most influential releases, especially if you look at the releases of 2021, I'd say this is probably the swan song for the one of the swan songs for the Nintendo 64. Majora's Mask, Legend of Zelda.
Now, Nick, I know we've done this before, but what is your favorite takeaway from it? Whether it be a creepypasta, theory, gameplay, whatever. What is your takeaway from Majora's Mask, other than the fact that it was the swan song of the Nintendo 64?
Well, I just got to say, I mean, a company has never gotten away with doing so little. They're like, hey, we have these assets from Ocarina of Time. Let's take them, push them into this game. We got one more year of this Nintendo 64. Theory-wise, I like the theory that everyone in this world, I think it's Temeria, is what the Majora's Mask is called. The world in Majora's Mask is called, is a counterpart to these characters in Hyrule.
See, mine is, my favorite theory is that Link died, and this is him trying to go through like the 7 stages of death, and going up to acceptance. Because there's so many points that people have pointed out, and it's like it makes so almost like the Mass Effect theory I was telling you about, the indoctrination theory.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the story sound 10 times better, like unintentionally better.
I think I've heard like little bits and pieces of this. I want you to send me a link so I can read the rest of it.
Of which one, the indoctrination or the death theory?
We've talked about indoctrination, the death theory.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Because isn't Majora's Mask the one where on the timeline, the hero, is it the one where the hero leaves? So Majora's Mask leads directly into Wind Waker?
Yeah, so you have Ocarina of Time, and then technically Link leaves right after that to go find Navi.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Majora's Mask begins, and that's where they think the hero died, and that's what spins off Wind Waker.
Yeah, so the fact that he leaves to go find Navi, he's not there to protect Hyrule when Ganon comes back. Ganon rules, Majora's Mask stuff happens, Wind Waker. I just love that Majora's Mask leads to Wind Waker because those are my two favorite. So I love, and basically Nintendo's just like, Nintendo was in a meeting for Wind Waker, and they're like, all right, we got Majora's Mask, and like, there was an intern in there with like the 2 M's, and he's like, what if we did this? And Miyamoto like kicked his ass out the window, and he's like, we're calling it Wind Waker. It's Wind Waker, damn it.
Dare you?
And we're gonna make it a cartoon. And they're like, okay, Miyamoto, all right. He's got like his tattoo.
There's a reason why he's on the top of the totem pole.
Oh man, we could talk about Josh. We could talk about Majora's Mask, but I feel like you could talk about this next game. Maybe.
Yes.
Gundam Side Story 0079 Rise from the Ashes.
So nothing on the particular game, but in general, Gundams, yes. I love me some Gundams. Who doesn't like huge mechs fighting each other to the death and watching huge explosions and people shooting terribly like they're stormtroopers?
For those of us who don't know, Josh, what is a Gundam?
No, I see. This is a trick because when I was in 8th grade and I had to write a paper, it was like one of the first big papers, like you had to do like a descriptive paper. I wrote mine on Gundams, and I'm very ashamed of it.
Wait, what grade was this?
8th grade.
What was the story about?
It was like you had to like give like in-depth research paper basically. So I did an in-depth research paper on Gundams.
Do you still have said research paper?
I don't know. I burned that thing long ago.
So what exactly were you researching?
Well, no, you weren't actually. So you were just writing about it, like you like a descript. How can I say this? It was like, okay, we're gonna talk about Gundams. Okay, what is a Gundam? Okay, it's a huge mechanized machine made mostly of obviously some type of steel, and it has some special fictional alloy called Gundamium alloy. Like it's you're just like talking about it, and it's just like it was like a 3-page essay basically.
Did you have to get up and read about this in front of the room?
No, thank God no. Trust me, as a kid, I was like, "Oh, this is so cool." As an adult, I'm like, "My God, if I could just find that kid and beat the crap out of him, I would."
After your class, your teacher stuffed you in your locker like fucking nerd.
Well,
Josh,
no,
are you seeing this gameplay? It's like a first person, like you're hitting each other with swords. Like it,
no,
it looks dated, but it kind of
I
looks cool.
can't, but I imagine it's kind of like the arcade equivalent. Like they had a couple of cool arcade ones where like you would actually get into like one like. Have you seen like those ones where like you go into a cart and it's got covers on the side and the back and you would shoot or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
They had kind of something similar to that where you got into like this cockpit and you would, you'd have the controls right in front of you and that's how you would play it.
They're
Like
just
you're actually inside it.
they're just jumping over buildings now. I'm getting like Titanfall vibes, but I know like Titanfall is so much better.
It was Titanfall before it was cool.
Titanfall before the Titans fell. R.I.P. Titanfall. Back to the list. Let's see here. Next up, we've got Excitebike 64. I did not know that they did a 64 version of Excitebike.
I remember it, but I think I only played it like once. I know we never had it, but
No, I think it was Excitebike was that game that everybody, whenever you went over to a friend's house, they had it, but you never had it. Like, and you were always excited to like try it, but like you were there for like some outdoor function, so you couldn't really play it.
like Superman 64.
Like Superman 64. Yeah, I remember playing that a few times over at one of our grandparents' house when I think we went to the kid's house that lived behind them. I don't know how that happened.
I honestly don't remember either.
R.I.P. to
The
that
fact
kid.
that
I'm
you
sure he's not around anymore.
Jesus, okay.
Suburbs probably got a nasty kryptonite addiction, if you know what I mean.
Wow, okay.
Nat,
That really got dark.
Josh, have you ever been addicted to kryptonite? No. So stop. Stop judging,
No,
Josh.
I'm judging you. I'm not judging him.
I bring up this next one because the title is so fucking stupid. And it's from the Mega Man world. Do you know what I'm referencing before I even say it?
I know exactly which one you're referencing. It's part of the Mega Man Legends series.
And you know what? What's sad was I was aware of this game. It came out for the PS1. The Misadventures of Trombone, or is it Trombone? Were they like being like cheeky?
I don't remember. It's been so long.
I think I've seen somebody play this. It looks so bad.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it goes Mega Man Legends, then this, and then Legends 2.
So is she like girl Mega Man?
No, she is his
Sister?
sister.
The Joe Dirt line. You're my sister. You're my sister.
It's been a long time since I've played. I mean, honestly, and it's one of the series that it received love at the time, but it's kind of like disappeared. The Mega Man Legends series was fantastic. One of the first, really one of the first and only good 3D version of Mega Man.
That's where those so they have the little yellow guys with the yellow heads. That they're the heads from Dead Rising. I did not know that. I knew Capcom borrowed from their other titles a lot, but I thought those guys were original to Dead Rising.
No, no.
Come on, Nick. It's Capcom, Nick.
Yeah, come on. You're better than this.
You know better. All right. April is a little long in the tooth. We get to May. There's Metal Gear Ghost Babel. Wasn't a direct sequel to Metal Gear Solid. Want to say it was just like an offshoot, like an alternate reality, but it played like the original Metal Gears for those older, was it Famicom or whatever it came out on? I couldn't tell you what those originals came out on. I just know that when
NES
Snake
and Famicom, I think.
I just
Super
know that
Famicom,
when
sorry.
Snake Eater did their special edition Subsistence, I was so excited, like I can finally play Metal Gear 1 and 2, and I never fucking played them.
And I've never played this one, but I mean, just based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it's very similar to the NES Super Famicom gameplay.
Yeah, just the
Maybe slightly
2D, the 2D run around.
Right. try to find a key card. Okay, we got this key card. Now you can go through all these doors, so on and so forth.
Well, and then we also got the start of a new series that is still around somehow. Josh, how do you feel about Rainbow Six?
Oh, I love me some Rainbow Six.
So was this the very first Rainbow, like this one? Is this the one where like you could set up like, okay, you guys are entering from here. You guys like you got that menu screen where you're setting up.
Yeah, you had like I think it was 4 or 5 squads. You would pick out where they were going, and then you played as one of the squads. Like you played as one of the like leaders of each squad. And when that squad died or that person died, you would go to the other side, or whatever one you could pick, and you would just basically go in and clear out terrorists.
There was no barricading walls. There was no goofy shit. Like,
okay, don't come in here and talking smack about Siege now. I actually enjoy Siege. Okay,
as a Rook main, I will have you know I enjoy Siege as well.
You're a Rook main?
I love Rook because I love Rook. You know why I love Rook?
Enlighten me.
Because you know what my ability is? Here's your fucking shields. I'm going to go do shit.
There's a problem with that, though. Yeah, that's useful. Only if they pick up the shields, though. A lot of times they'll just look at it and go, no, I'm not going to put on that sweater.
Everybody picks those up. Nobody skips those except for like maybe one asshole.
You'll find that one asshole who's not paying attention, and then he'll yell at you, dude, put your shields down. What's going on? You'll be like, dude, it's been down for like 30 seconds. You've just been running around like a jackass.
Because as Rook, I can drop my shit and I can be a roamer the rest of the game. I don't have to be locked down anywhere.
Now, see, you give me my Capcan. I will destroy with him every time.
Is he the one with the MG?
Entry denial. No, he's got the entry denial explosives.
Okay. I was thinking, for some reason I get him and Thermite mixed up.
Yeah, no. Capcan is the Russian who will... I mean, when it first came out, his laser, or everybody could see the lasers, but I got really smart with it and wouldn't put it in doorways you would expect. It'd be just like random doorways, and people would just run through it and instantly die.
And he's a defender, right?
He is a defender. Then they nerfed it. Now he's actually gone back to getting better, where I think it actually does at least half damage. Either way, it's better now than it had been, and I started picking him up again, and I'm so happy about it. Like, he is my boy.
Who's your attacker?
Ooh,
I think I know. You're an Ash main, aren't you?
Oh, I hate Ash. No.
Or what's the lady with her face paint? Is that Kuwabara?
No. I'm more of a sledge. I like to be able to break soft walls and windows and be able to get fast entries, or be able to take enemies by surprise and have somebody else either soft break somewhere else or do a hard break.
Who's the guy with like the scope?
Glaz.
Is it Glaz?
Glaz has a scope. He's technically a designated marksman rifle, and then there's an actual sniper in there. I forget her name though.
I like Glaz. I'm split between Glaz and Ash whenever I play.
Glaz is pretty solid. I like being able to use his smoke and thermals. They're pretty solid.
All that from this shitty PS1 game.
Hey, it spawned a huge franchise. I mean, look at Vegas 2. Yeah, that's all I can come off the top of my head besides Siege. So yeah, there we go. On to the next one. Hey, we're in May. We're almost there.
Because it's the olden days of gaming where summer was basically dead.
Speaking of summer, Nick.
Uh-oh.
Guess what May was?
What was May?
May was the 6th E3 Expo.
6. So the first one was 1994. So I'm older than E3. That's crazy.
See, I didn't realize it was going on for that long. I thought it wasn't a thing until, maybe midway through PS2's life. At that point, I had no idea it was that old.
So yeah, I wasn't aware of E3 until probably like its 10th year, 2003, 2004, when we got Tech TV. When Tech TV was the fuzzy channel that came through.
It had all the weird animes, because animes at the time were so rare to find.
Hey, Gatekeepers 21 was a banger. It only had 6 episodes, but it was so good. Moving back through May, SimCity 3000 is a city builder. Yeah, city builders are fine. I'm not crazy. There's no part of me that's ever been like, I want to build a city. I'm pulling a total power move right now. We're skipping to June.
All right, that's fine with me. There's nothing really good in May anyway.
Because this game stuck out to me. I'm not even going to say the name. It's just people dancing in space. Why is this game influential? It's what is it, Space Channel 5?
Yeah, Space Channel 5, yep.
This was This was Dreamcast at its finest, and people loved this. I'm not crazy about the dance rhythm games, but they're about to give it to this pink alien. They just iced his homies, and now he's like trying to dance his way out of being murdered by the local news team.
Guys, look what I can do.
Like, Josh, what I want to know about Space Channel 5 is, has the media gone too far?
Oh yeah. Like I almost like think what was it? Eric Andre when he goes to the microphone and then he turns around and shoots what's his name?
Oh, why? Like, he'll be like, I can't think of an example right now, but I know what you're talking about.
He did something like that. That's basically what Space Channel 5 was.
Why would you do this? So that was apparently big. Vampire the Masquerade Redemptions. Want to say this is the first of the vampire games. They just had one come out like in the last year of this. Like I think isn't the Vampire the Masquerade like isn't it like a very popular like tabletop or like something along those lines?
Along the lines of that, but I thought they're working on the second one as we speak, and like people are like, "Oh my god, it needs to come out now because it's been in development hell for too long."
When isn't it like a big old freaking mess? Like didn't they hired a story guy and then they fired a story guy and they brought a new guy in.
Yeah, that's been a huge shit show, a huge one. I just know it's up there with like what was it?
Okay, so the one you're thinking of is Bloodline 2. Bloodline 1 came out in 2004.
Okay, maybe that is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, so it's all part of the World of Darkness series based on the tabletop role-playing game Vampire the Masquerade. Josh, maybe we should play some Vampire the Masquerade. I've been looking for a reason to dress up.
Sure.
So whatever I thought, when I saw this next game, I thought that, oh, this is when that first game came out? That seems late. No, this was Tomb Raider on the Game Boy Color.
Which I don't even know if I would even waste my breath on something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love me some Tomb Raider. But why on the Game Boy? I guarantee it was probably like a Prince of Persia for like, what was it? I think it was the NES. Was that the first one that came out?
Josh, you have to look and see how bad this looks.
You're gonna make me do it? All right. Let me
Oh my god. This was a major release for the Game Boy Color. This hurts me. This hurts me real bad. Hold on. Are there physics? Wait a minute. Are there? Oh my god. They added physics to a Game Boy Color game.
No.
Watch. You'll see it. Moment of silence. What were they thinking? What were they thinking? They weren't. They weren't.
No, they weren't even thinking. Oh my goodness.
They weren't. They weren't thinking. They were like, hey, you know what the Game Boy Color people want? I know what they want.
I guess technically they did a better job than the cone boobs for the PS1. I guess. But still, that's pretty bad.
So then June also introduced us to the Total War series, which I haven't had the chance of experiencing, but I know people love the shit out of Total War. Let me pull this.
It's been a hot minute since I've played one, but I do. They're pretty good. I enjoy them.
I hear they do a pretty good job of, making you feel like you're in an epic battle. I mean, look at all these people. Look at them all. They're ready to go to war.
Well, yeah, it's Total War.
It's Total War. You select formations. I didn't know this. They're getting ready to come out with, I think it's a new one. I think it's based off of the Warhammer series. But yeah, that's Total War. That looks totally old, so I'm sure the newer ones are a better representation of what the series can be.
Oh, they have to be.
Moving on. Deus Ex. Deus Ex?
Deus Ex.
Say it again.
Deus Ex.
Deus Ex.
Not gonna be butchering it as well, but that's how I've always pronounced it.
Did you play this first one?
Yes, I did play it.
When did you play it?
Before I remember I didn't get introduced to Deus Ex until Human Revolution, which I think of all like hands down one of my top 5 games of all time. I got it for the 360 when I first got into PC gaming. Right after that, so like a few years later, I saw it. I'm like, oh, there's multiple, so I bought them and I played it, and it's good. I mean, don't get me wrong, Human Revolution's in my opinion still better. But I also fell in love with the future ones that I.
So let me get this right. There's Deus Ex.
Mm-hmm.
There's Invincible War that came out a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
There's Human Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's one after Human Revolution.
Mankind Divided. Well, technically you have The Fall, which is like kind of in between it, but that doesn't really count. But then you have Mankind Divided.
Okay. I mean, it looks like a fun series. It kind of looks like what Cyberpunk 2077 was going for. But just
actually succeeded in.
But it actually, yeah. Like, people are mad about Cyberpunk 2077, and if I ever meet one of those people, I just want to be like, hey, you could play Deus Ex and Deus Ex Invincible War and Mankind Divided and Human Revolution and totally get the experience you wanted. I thought he was going to take Crowbar to that number pad there for a minute. So that came out in July. No, July. I'm stroking out. I'm stroking out. It's so late
We're
here.
in June.
We're still in June. Oh no. So that was June 26th. And then June 29th, Josh, we got another banger of a day. Again, I want your face reaction for all of these. June 29th, Persona 2, Eternal Punishment.
Persona series is fantastic. Honestly, it's a sleeper series up until 4, and then 4 it just says, "Know what? Hold my beer."
Hold my beer while I list off the rest of these, and we'll go back through them. Diablo 2,
Banger.
Icewind Dale,
sure.
Jet Set Radio,
Yeah, of course. Yes, another banger. Keep it going.
Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
In my opinion, the best fighting game ever.
They haven't been able to recapture it.
No, I mean, 3, I think they had too much going on, and then Infinite was just like, or it was Infinite. Yeah. It was just like, why? Just stop.
Please stop.
It's almost like the Mortal Kombat versus DC universe of why? Why are you doing this?
So
just
Josh,
why?
Going back up the list on these, what is so good about these Persona games? So I am someone who doesn't know Persona. Sell me on them.
So for the older ones, it's more of just like the typical, like it's still a JRPG, but there's so much to it, and it just has a fantastic story. Honestly, I'm not so much into the first 3. It's when you get into 4 and 5. Once you give me those ones, I'm like, you got me hooked, because the story is different for every single one of them, but the idea behind it really is just the dream factor, or not dream. It's not really a dream factor, but that's what it presents itself as.
So doesn't everyone has like their like different personas? I know that because of Joker being in Smash.
Yes.
But everyone's like a normal person, but then they have like a persona that's like a badass demon. And like you're going into people's heads and like cleaning out like the darkness or something like that.
Yeah, like you're just like basically you're freeing their soul. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Like they're corrupted to the point where they either need to be killed, which you can't kill them, or they just need to be, you need to be able to alter their mind, which all you have to do is basically beat their soul.
Get in here and beat my soul. Ugh. Now, is Shin Megami Tensei basically the same idea, or is that like more of like the dark, sick, twisted like goth sibling?
It's more like Bleach meets Persona. Remember
Okay.
Bleach?
I'm aware of Bleach.
I would say that would be a close resemblance. It would be those two. I could be completely off though, because I haven't really played a Shin Megami Tensei, but that's what it looks like to me, in my opinion.
Okay.
I still would love to play. Actually, I'm considering getting the newest one and the remake of, I think, 3, or the remaster of 3, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm Josh saying.
Oh God, not this again. Diablo 2, Josh. You've played Diablo 2, right?
Yep, I've played all of them now.
When did you play Diablo 2?
It was before you got rid of your copy. You let me borrow it so I could download it, because I had a key to be able to play it. So I remember borrowing it from you to download it, and then I played it.
I remember watching good friend of the show, Anthony Bradley. I remember watching him play it and being in love with it, but just always being like, I don't know if I want to play this. I'm too scared.
Well, you ended up having a copy of it at one point, though.
I did. I don't think I ever played that copy though. I think I had the copy, and the PC I had couldn't play it. I think they're great. I played 3. I played the hell out of 3.
See, I just think there was too much in 3. 1 and 2 were just so much more simpler.
I didn't like that 3 wasn't like that 3 was actually like actual like live action hitting instead of like turn based kind of.
I just remember going over to one of the runners' house when they came out. You remember Ryan Hooten, right?
I remember
I
Ryan
remember
Newton.
going over to his. Yeah, I remember going over to his house the night it came out. Him, him and all the cross country runners basically all like sat down, were downloading it, getting ready to play it, and I'm over there like, yeah, I'm gonna play some Halo 3 by myself.
I might come over here and play Halo 3. You guys are fine. Go ahead and play, guys.
I just remember like they were like so pumped for it. I'm like, I've never played them, so I don't know and don't care. Because at that point you hadn't had to yet. Man,
then,
I gotta stop the sneezing.
Not on the podcast, Josh. Not on
Not
the
on the
podcast.
podcast. No,
And then you were
no.
gushing over Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I mean, for being a 21-year-old game, this looks great.
I mean, first off, who doesn't want to play as Venom and destroy the crap out of like every single Capcom character you can think of?
This game sadly does not happen today because licensing is a nightmare.
Oh, I'm sure it was like this was like, oh yeah, we're gonna make some easy money here. Now it's like, well, see, Venom is owned by Sony, Spider-Man's owned by Sony,
So
and
they made 3. Was there one? There was one after 3, right?
yeah, Infinite.
And Infinite was like trying to cash in on like probably the Avengers popularity at the time, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, like they had like their own little story. Like it was like, if I remember correctly, Infinite was Ultron mixes, combines with some other entity, like the Capcom entity, and like essentially becomes like a god. So it was literally Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe. No
So
joke.
so is there still a scene behind Infinite, or is everyone else or is everyone like, let's go back to 2 and 3?
No, I think at this point that everybody knows that Marvel versus Capcom is dead.
No, I
I
mean
don't
like,
think
but in
they'll
the
ever.
fighting game scene, like, did everyone go back to 2 and 3 and like, kind of like how
Yeah, I mean,
the Smash heads are like, we like Melee the best.
yeah, I mean, let's face it. Like, no one goes to 3. 3 is basically. I mean, if they're gonna go to 3, they're gonna go for the ultimate version,
Right.
and then no one goes back to 1 because 1 is just so like there's not that many things there. Where Marvel vs. Capcom 2, there's like 4 or 5 different like versions of it, and each one has different characters. I think like on the original, I think there was only like 20 characters. Where if you get like the, I think there's like a Heroes version. There's like different versions of it, and each version has more characters basically. Best one is the Dreamcast version, by the way.
Watching this reminded me, I think they put 2 out as a Summer of Arcade game on Xbox one year,
They did.
and now it's kind of got me wanting to play it again.
I don't even know if you can even play it anymore.
Like, if you own it, you can still download it. All right, are we ready to get out of June and get into July?
Yeah, let's do it.
I was
Oh wait,
gonna go,
before we leave June, one of the biggest moments in history happened in June. Can you guess?
what was that?
Microsoft purchases Bungie or acquires Bungie.
Yeah, and because Bungie at the time was working on a Halo RTS,
Yep.
and then Microsoft bought them, and were like, oh, let's check this out. Okay, we like, and then I don't know the full story, but someone either in Bungie or in Microsoft was like, what if we made it a shooter? History is made. I was gonna talk about Mortal Kombat Special Forces because I didn't remember it existed, but I think we can skip it. I think it's safe.
Oh, there's one more thing that happened in June.
Oh God, what happened?
It's not as big because not a lot of people know about it. But Nintendo, do you remember hearing about the Nintendo Satellaview system?
Satellaview system.
So basically, on the bottom of the Super Famicom, not the Super Nintendo version, but not the American version, but the Japanese version, there was actually a port. You could get this special device that would allow you to basically go into the internet and get special. Like for example, there was a specific Legend of Zelda game that was specifically to this game, and the only way you got it was by downloading it via this broadcast.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I mean it was super ahead of its time, to be honest with you, because even then at that point Nintendo gave up. They did not, because you had to have like a special membership, you had a special code. I mean there was a whole 9 yards to get to it.
Can you still buy one of these? I wonder.
I'm sure you could, but there is no. I mean, it was all on like it was like its own server, and they shut that down actually on June 30th of 2000. So you can no longer get that special Zelda game. Can't be found anywhere, from my understanding. There's like videos of it, but you can't find it anywhere. And if you find it, I think somebody has like a $500,000 reward for a copy of it.
Shit, we need to get looking then. I could use the money.
It's almost impossible, from my understanding. I think they said there was a fire and Nintendo lost it. That's why they don't have it, and then no one else kept the downloaded copy of it. It's one of the most interesting things I like. When I learned about it, I was like, man, this is actually really cool, way ahead of its time.
I think we're gonna skip down to August. Chrono Cross. People love it. I don't know much about it.
Never played so much Chrono Cross. I played more of the
Is it Chrono Trigger?
Chrono Trigger. Yeah, I think Chrono Cross is technically it's set in the same world, but it's not a sequel, if I remember correctly.
Josh, did you ever play any Dragon Quest?
Yes, I played a lot of Dragon Quest.
Did you play 7?
No, let's see. I played the first 5, and then I didn't go back into it until I think it's 8 or 9.
They're to the point where they have like a Dragon Quest like maker, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, let's see. They're on their 11th, or they've been on their 11th. They've had like 3 different editions that have come out. I'm sure 12 is being worked on, but
it's just a more cartoony Final Fantasy, right?
yeah, I mean, it has like your basic like slime monsters. Then you have
Slime monsters.
Yeah, I mean, their mascot is the blue slime, if I remember correctly.
You're right. I remember that.
Yeah.
One last banger in August was the first Mario Tennis for Nintendo 64.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. That's the minus Mario Kart. That's the first sports game, isn't it?
I think you're right.
Because I don't think golf came out until the GameCube.
I don't think golf came out into the GameCube either. I think you are 100% right on that.
It went tennis, golf, soccer, tennis came back. Yeah.
And then they did baseball on GameCube also.
That baseball as well, yep.
Yeah, so this was the first iteration. Was there any Super Nintendo iteration of Mario playing a sport?
No, I think the only thing they had was, well, technically you had that one. There was that one tennis game where you could play as Mario, I thought, or Mario is like the guy, the official in the middle.
Yeah, I know it's. I think it was just called tennis for the NES or the SNES.
Yeah, that one. So like beyond that though, I think this was like the first sports, like not kart wise, because kart to me is not. I mean, it's a racing, but whatever.
What was that tennis game on your Switch from the Super Nintendo that I was playing a few weeks ago that was pissing me off?
I cannot remember to save my life.
I think it's called Super Tennis, and it is bullshit. If you ever play Super Tennis, just fucking toss it. Toss it in the garbage.
It's because you suck at games, Nick. Just be honest.
No, it was so bad. It wasn't
it's
me.
It's also an older game. I mean,
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. No, it wasn't me.
Moving on from there into September, Nick. This next one
Actually holds a special place in my heart because I played the shit out of it.
Tell us about your childhood with Spider-Man.
We're only talking about Spider-Man because we need the SEO, and Spider-Man comes out in a few weeks. No, Spider-Man for the PlayStation. It's a great game. Like they didn't have like the open world, like, oh, you're swinging around, and yeah, they did that weird thing where like you were up in the air above all the buildings and you're still grabbing onto something for some reason.
Yes.
But it was a lot of fun. Like they got like the feel of Spider-Man really good. Just about all of his enemies were in there.
Let's see. So they had Venom, Carnage, Doc Ock, Shocker.
And I remember like the Venom part, like you chase Venom for like a good like 3 or 4 levels. And I think he ends up working with you by the end of it.
Yeah, because something happened with Carnage and he's trying to figure it out. And then you find out that Carnage was being like, I think, working with Doc Ock or something. And then Doc Ock takes him. They become Doc Carnage or something.
I think Stan Lee even made an appearance in this game.
I think he made an appearance in just about all of them. Except for Miles.
Oh,
Hashtag rest in peace.
This fight with Venom was just nasty. Well, the camera, and when you're in like tight spaces like this, was not the best.
No.
But this is the PS1 for you.
Plus all the secrets, like being able to be the bombastic Bagman. I think you got to play as naked, and it was naked. It wasn't really naked, but it was like Peter Parker in his underwear.
Peter Parker in his underwear, classic.
You got the black suit, which gave you unlimited webbing.
The final boss is really good too.
Yeah, because it's Doc Ock fused with Carnage, isn't it?
Yeah, and he just chased you.
Yeah, he chased you as the lab is exploding.
Yeah, it's kind of eerie. So yeah, you're fighting Doc Ock, and then Carnage shows up, and you beat Carnage's ass, and then Carnage is like, "I'm gonna eat this Doctor Octopus guy."
And then you fucking run like hell.
Carnage has like done this to a bunch of villains, hasn't he? Like, isn't there a Red Goblin?
I mean, I don't know about every villain. Like the closest thing we're ever going to get to just about every single person, and it's by far my favorite Spider-Man game ever, is Web of Shadows.
Web of Shadows is pretty good.
Honestly, the one game I wish I could still find, and I would buy it physically and just to have it.
We need to talk about Spider-Man for like another 20 minutes, so SEO will keep pushing us forward. How the hell is Daredevil playing cards with these guys right now?
He just is.
How is he reading his cards? Who's reading it? Like,
He could technically.
You can't feel the ink. The ink. No.
Yeah, but he can technically see. I mean, he can always see. He just doesn't see the world like everybody else does.
Spider-Man, though, a lot of fun. So much fun. I'm kind of excited to move down into Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
You just want us to get right to it?
Let's just get right to it. I think
Get right to it.
Tips 2 is good. I still hold that 3 is the best. 2 gave us School, though, if I remember correctly.
It gave us School, it gave us Spider-Man, and it gave us Darth Maul.
And the soundtrack was banging. Gorilla Radio. So, I mean, all you needed to hear was Gorilla Radio to know it was going to be a great soundtrack. Like,
and if I remember correctly, I think it was the first one that let you create your own skater, didn't it?
I think you could create a skater and you could create a skate park, maybe?
I don't want the skate park one, but I thought it was the first one you create your own character, because I remember you have like terrible stats, so you'd play as like everybody else to get basically the money to buy more stats for your character.
Oh, I forgot about the hanger on this one, too.
Oh, the hanger is pretty cool, too. Because that's the first level, isn't it? Or is that the second level?
I believe so, but you couldn't manual in this. You still couldn't manual until 3.
Are you
I don't
sure?
know if this one that we're watching is... I think this is OG. I don't think this is the remake. Next up, on the 24th, Baldur's Gate 2, Shadows of Am came out. I wasn't big on it. I'm not big on... Besides my little time with Diablo 3, I'm not big on like dungeon crawler type things. Were you big on Baldur's Gate?
Not really. I think the closest thing I had was, I believe there was a Game Boy Advanced Baldur's Gate.
Why would you do that to yourself?
It was super hard, and I'm like, God, this game sucks. But that's because I sucked. I realized. I mean, as an adult now, I could probably beat it. I mean, that's what I learned is, as a kid, all these games you played, and you're like, man, this is really hard. You just look back and go, man, I was an idiot. Kids are stupid at this kind of stuff. Like they think they're all so smart and like, oh, I can play video games and beat it, but they were terrible.
Well, a game that came out the same day for Game Boy Color, which I think is the better of the two, is Little Mermaid 2 Pinball.
Nope.
Look at that.
We're gonna go ahead and skip that, everyone.
Look at that gameplay. Look at that gameplay.
we're not looking at Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy. No.
Oh, too late, Josh. I have the steering wheel. You have your regular sport releases. We're not going to talk about sport releases because if you've played Madden 2021, you've played Madden 2001, 2000. Every year we could talk about Madden. It's the same thing. EA's not doing shit with it. 2K was doing all the work with it. Fuck you, EA.
You right into October, Nick. I believe
agree.
This
October
is
time.
your favorite of the series.
Where do we start? There's so much good stuff here in October.
If I remember correctly, you got both copies, didn't you?
I saved up. I got $10 for allowance every week, and I bought silver. And I bought Pokemon Silver. Pokemon Gold and Silver came out on October 15th, and I honestly think they're better than Red and Blue. And Generation 2 is probably my favorite generation of Pokemon. Who's your starter, Josh, for that?
Cyndaquil.
Cyndaquil. Why Cyndaquil?
Dude, you could... Okay, first off, Generations 1 and 2, it's always the fires. Charmander, Cyndaquil are the best. They have the best evolutions, the best stats, and they're just the coolest.
I would go fire a lot, but I think more than anyone, I went Totodile on that, because I would go Totodile and then I would go get what's the ghost Or no, that what's that little sheep that we just saw on the screen? Is that Mareep? So yeah, the little electric sheep, I think it was called Mareep, that would have eventually it had 3 evolutions. It was the coolest thing. What do you think about Miltank, Josh? Do you
If
do,
I remember correctly, overpowered.
yeah, do you remember that bullshit fight?
Yeah, I think that was like the fight that everybody got stuck on. You have to like go level up your Pokemon for like to be like almost like 5 or 6 levels higher and still struggle.
Oh, it was straight bullshit. Like the worst fight. But I mean, this introduced day and night mode. This introduced Pokemon breeding.
Uh,
I think it personally has the best legendary Pokemon. Like Lugia and
yes.
Ho-Oh are great. I never ever caught any of the legendary dogs because they'd always run away from my ass.
I got my boy Entei, and that's all I needed.
Entei. Oh, that by the way, that movie, that Entei movie, which was the third movie in the series, about I think, pretty damn good. It wasn't bad.
I think it was because I think the first movie, yeah, first movie was with Mew and Mewtwo. Second movie was with
All the birds
Lugia
fighting,
and all the birds fighting, and then the third one was Entei.
and then after that, it's like I'm Pokemon out of here.
Oh, we got older. I mean, I think the last one I truly remember playing was Ruby and Sapphire.
But Ruby and Sapphire felt like weird, like just like they were so colorful. Generation 3 is still pretty banger when it comes to the Pokemon. But
It
Gold
felt
and Silver,
faster.
the thing Gold and Silver has is that twist ending, which I don't like. We can't spoil. No, we're gonna spoil. It's a 20-year-old game. Get over it. You win, and then you go to the region from the first game.
But didn't you have to have like all the Pokemon in the game captured and stuff too?
No, you could just go.
Oh, I thought. See, and I never did that. I remember beating that area, but I don't never remember going back to the first region.
Because there's a little river next to your home, or there's a little pond next to your hometown, and you surf across it. And I think there was a bunch of stuff that was blocking it to begin with, but you get over there and you're like, holy shit, I'm in. I think you land in Vermilion City, and it's crazy because you're like, oh shit, like we're doing this, aren't we? Or you take the SS Anne, you take a boat, and yeah, just the fact that they put 2 whole games in one game is nuts. And then you fought the old you. You fought the
You
old
mean
you.
fought Red?
Yeah. Now imagine if that came out today, and they were able to like. Imagine if it was like a Mass Effect thing, where like they're like, okay, we're gonna need your info from the last generation of Pokemon, so we can just like adjust some things. And then you get to the end of the game, and you're fighting the fucking Pokemon that you captured last gen.
That's crazy.
That'd be fucking nuts. I wish they would do it again, but they're more interested in like pumping a game out every year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I know what I'm talking about Shield, so
You bought Shield?
I bought Pokemon Shield. Yeah,
Have you played it yet?
I have. I've only beaten the first gym.
Okay, I was gonna say you better not be playing online with like that Dedirex guy and be getting salty.
No, no. I've only beaten the first gym. My highest level of Pokemon, I think, is 30.
Okay, all right. I'm just checking on you. The rest of October, I don't have too much experience with a lot of these, but I know a lot of people hold them near and dear to their heart. Donald Duck Going Quackers. I was looking that up before the stream. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. It's a 3D platformer with Donald Duck.
That sounds about right.
Quake 3 Arena. I know people love their Quake 3 multiplayer. I know they love the fast paced. I never got into it because I'm terrible at shooters. I was more of a Halo guy. Again, I'm terrible at shooters. Let's see here. Command and Conquer Red Alert 2. The homies in the Discord love that one.
You can never go wrong with Red Alert 2.
I shamefully need to catch up on my Command and Conquer backlore. I will say that the fact that EA owns the people behind Command and Conquer and Respawn, and they haven't done a Titanfall RTS, is driving me nuts. I want to get it on the record before I die. I want to be saying it somewhere where ear holes are hearing me. Make it happen, EA. Time Splitters, another first-person shooter series I wasn't big on. I remember watching reviews for like the 4th or 5th one because they eventually got to 4 or 5.
I think they got further than that, to be honest. But
Here's one you might know, Josh. Mega Man Legends 2.
one of the only series I don't understand why they never came back. The 2 was the last one, and then it kind of like died off, and like it ended on the cliffhanger. Spoiler alert. But
they ended on a cliffhanger. Like they were like, hey, maybe we'll come back, maybe we won't.
so essentially, like your character, you're basically you're Mega Man. It's like a different. It's the same. So basically, you're Mega Man, but you're like a human Mega Man. But it's weird. Anyway, essentially, you go to this place to try and stop the bad guy. You do, but in doing so, you become stranded on this place, and it ends with your sister and the other characters working together to build a rocket, basically to rescue Mega Man.
I'm watching the gameplay right now, and I'm feeling a little. Stop me if you heard me say this before. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. It looks
Yeah,
challenging.
it is. It is a harder game, but like I said, it's also one of the only 3D Mega Man games that at least holds solid to its time. Like at the time, let's face it, 3D games were becoming fairly more common, but they still weren't perfected like they are nowadays. And even then, perfection is obviously a double-edged sword.
They were still working on mastering it.
Exactly. But title wise, it's a fantastic. Honestly, if you guys are ever looking back, going, what's a game, one or two games that I could play from older generation that would just make me appreciate the modern games that I've played. Give Mega Man Legends 1 and 2 a try. You will not be missing out. Great story, great gameplay, hands down.
Moving on.
Moving on.
I think we're still in October here. We're almost done with October. The first Midnight Club came out on PS2. I'm guessing this was like a PS2 launch. So PS2 by now should be out in America at this point in our history.
No, I think because it was the 26th of October, I think is when it was released in the North America.
Okay, so it was close.
It was, I mean, literally, it probably was like a first release for America, but for Japan, it was like, oh, okay, we're 6 months into it. Let's get a game.
Well, people probably look like, I'm looking at this now and I'm seeing it. I'm like, people probably were losing their minds over how good this looks. And it doesn't look bad for a PS2 game. I mean, honestly, it doesn't look bad for a PS2 game.
No, honestly, I will give it the PS2 its credit where credit is due. It is honestly one of the consoles I think you could still go back to. And the graphics for the most part held up pretty well. Just look at the first Ratchet and Clank, for example.
He's driving past Jeff Jam recording. Sorry, I'm geeking out over here. He's driving through the city.
All right, we're gonna end that one. We're gonna end that one, guys. We're gonna go straight into Spyro. Year of the Dragon.
Year of the Dragon.
The last good Spyro game.
I would agree with that.
Because after that, I know it got like all weird. They tried to introduce another dragon, and then I think it became part of the Skylanders thing. And now Spyro is kind of like, hey, we're gonna remaster the only 3 good games we released, and that's it.
Spyro and Crash got done dirty when they got. I think didn't they both get sold off to Activision?
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Yeah, Activision was like, "Oh, we heard you're getting rid of your 3D platformer.
We'll buy it at a high price.
We hear you're getting rid of your mascots. Well, what do you want for them?"
They just hand him a blank check. Just enter as many zeros as you want.
How many zeros do you want on this check? I'm Bobby Kotick. Oh God, we can't mention him by name.
They got like 6 zeros in, and like they're like, yeah. And then right before like they signed off, they put like a decimal point, like 2 zeros before it.
Didn't they recently do like a Crash Spyro team up?
I don't know if that was recent, but I think they did do something along the lines. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say, I don't know if that's real. Nick's making shit up again.
This kid, he says he's a gamer and he doesn't even know what the hell Mega Man Legends is.
Must be one of those fake gamers. He doesn't even watch anime.
His only anime he knows is a 6-episode one, and it was probably subpar at best. God.
So you know what else came out in October? It came out on Halloween, in fact. The Grinch. The Grinch.
That sounds awful. That sounds just awful.
It's so bad. I want to say this came out. This was a movie tie-in game, and it looks like it. Oh my God! Look at this.
I just saw the cover, and I'm just not even gonna look at it. It was good to know you.
It was good. Oh wow! They This looks like somebody like the weekend before the movie came out. They're like, we need a Grinch game. So they're like, oh shit, we'll make it. That's the thing about this list. Like you go down it, there's so many movie tie-ins. I guess it was still profitable enough that they're like, oh, your kids love the Grinch. Buy the shitty video game.
I mean, I know we played the One If You Down. I definitely know we had that one because it was a blue cartridge for
Oh
the
my
Nintendo
god,
64.
this thing is running so bad. Like, did they make? I think they made this in PowerPoint.
They probably did.
The movement. Oh my god, that movement animation of him moving that bookshelf. Oh no, who did this to them? I want to know whose Let's Play is this, and I want to check in on them and make sure they're okay. We need to do a wellness check on this guy.
How old is the video?
This video is 4 years old. Somebody call this man.
He's
He posted it on Christmas Eve.
we're 4 years too late. I'm sorry.
Christmas
There's
Eve.
nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do, Nick.
That reminds me of my last place. I had this intern. Her name was Eve, and I was like, and she was talking about her brother. And so when you guys celebrated Christmas Eve, did your brother get jealous because he thought that day was about you? And she was like, my parents, the day after Christmas, called it, because his name was Steve, called the next day Christmas Steve. Yeah, I know. It's one of those things where I was like, oh, God, I love your parents for that. That's good. I love that. Crash Bash, November 6th. We're in November finally. We're almost through. We're almost through the releases, Josh. We're getting a little long in the tooth here. Crash Bash. They did a fighting Crash Bandicoot game. And I guess it didn't, like, because they've remade everything else that Crash did back in the 90s and 2000s. But this is where they drew the line. They're like, we're not touching this one.
It's the cursed Crash Bandicoot.
I remember like seeing this as a kid and being like, yeah, I don't want this. Or was this was their party game, wasn't it? This was their Mario Party.
I think this was their Mario Party, if I remember correctly. But
when Sony then, was like, oh, Nintendo has Mario Party, we have Crash Bash.
Let's face it, everybody's tried to fight Nintendo on their stuff. You've got like the Nickelodeon fighters, you've got the Sony PlayStation fighters, you've got you've got all these other games that like try to get up there and fight Nintendo, and Nintendo's just like, it's so disgusted, and it knows if it tries to put its like hands up on them, that everybody else will just look at them and shake their heads like, you're disgusting.
And everybody's got the fighters now, but you know what? Looking at like Crash Bandicoot back in the late 90s, 2000s had the better boss fights.
Yes.
Mario had fucking Bowser and like a giant version of whatever enemy he was fighting.
But that's what made it so good.
R.I.P. Crash Bandicoot. We miss you. Come home. Your mother misses you. November. The world is not enough. The world is not enough, Josh.
Remember playing that? I think we played that more than we did GoldenEye.
We played the hell out this one. Like, it just felt better. It felt like a better game.
It did. It was like a more well-polished, smooth version of GoldenEye.
And I wasn't aware that The World Is Not Enough came out for PlayStation. We played it on Nintendo 64, but like my little elementary, middle school brain remembers that just being so much smoother.
It was a lot easier too.
I do remember there being a stealth mission that was a pain in the ass, though.
I think you're right. Yeah,
but the gadgets were cooler. The levels were cooler.
I just remember the waterway level, running through every canal, trying to catch up to the boat.
I remember that too. That was so much fun.
The good old days.
And they let you gamble.
What could you not do in The World Is Not Enough?
I don't know, because the world was not enough, Josh. We needed more.
Speaking of more, I've never played the series, but I hear nothing but phenomenal things that people want either remakes or they want sequel. Shenmue.
Shenmue. Is it about cows?
No. Have you ever heard of Shenmue?
I've heard of Shenmue. It's the is it the samurai game?
No. Shenmue. Best way I can think of putting it, because I've never played it. Yakuza.
Oh, it's the Yakuza game. I forget what I was thinking of. I get Shenmue and some
It's
other game mixed up.
it's not well, it's not the Yakuza game, but it's like, in my opinion, that's what it looks like. I mean, I just heard nothing but positive things. It's obviously a game I've never played, and I heard people love the second one. Like the second one is like, if you're gonna put a game on a pedestal, that game is up there.
I do want to get into the Yakuza series eventually. But this looks great. This is Dreamcast, right?
Yeah, this was first and second were both on Dreamcast. I think there was a re-release for like PS3 maybe for 1 and 2.
I've always loved his jacket, his brown
Oh, yeah, the
jacket that he
jacket's
wears.
always, yeah, I love his jacket.
I used to have one like that. I don't know what happened to it.
And if I remember correctly, same thing. This was a series that ended on a cliffhanger.
Was
Because
it? And
the
they
three-
just haven't touched it?
It's been rumored, and they've said they've been working on developing it, but who even knows anymore? I think at one point they even were crowdfunding it.
Josh, this next game, I know that you have a hand in it, so I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna give you the floor. I'm gonna give you the floor, even though Beyonce had the best music video.
All right, what you got? Lay it on me.
Counter Strike.
Honestly, before it became so, I mean, let's face it, it became so big when Global Offense came out. So CS:GO, when it came out, it was just blew up.
What is the difference between regular Counter Strike and CS:GO?
So Counter Strike, it was just a typical terrorist versus counter terrorist. It was the same game that you've seen, loved, and known. It was just, you know, older. No, I mean, nothing has really changed other than the graphics, the game modes. The only one I think that's still better, and that's just because you could do so much with it at the time. I mean, now obviously CS:GO has gotten better with the mods and being able to do everything we want. Was with Source, you could do so much. Like, actually, have you ever played Gary's mod?
No, but I've heard of it.
Okay, so Gary's mod uses actually a lot of resources from Counter-Strike Source. Counter-Strike Source is like the blueprint for everything Valve at the time. So
Yeah, so Half-Life 1.
Half-Life 2, all their stuff. I mean, everything basically. That is the blueprint for the series, or for the company at the time.
So what is the appeal of Counter Strike? Is it really well balanced? Are they good maps? Like, is it deep gameplay?
I mean, not really deep gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay has not really changed. You have the three modes, or well, two modes everybody usually plays. Bomb. So the typical play, try and plant the bomb. Counter terrorists either stop killing everybody, defusing the bomb, or stopping them from even planting it. And then you had hostage, which it's not as big as it used to be. I think, if off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, in CS:GO, I think there's only like 2 maps that do hostage. And then they actually used to have a third mode. I don't think anybody really plays it. It's called assassination. Basically, one of the counter terrorists basically is like the VIP, and the team has to escort them to a specific spot on the map to win. And the terrorists win when they kill the VIP, or if the time runs out and they haven't made it to the spot.
And they still have a pretty big esport. Like,
yeah, it's like, I mean,
great?
it's pretty big. It's not as big as like Dota 2, or I think League of Legends now has even topped it a little bit.
League of Legends is the number one, I believe. It has. I think it has been for a while.
I know like Dota 2 and League of Legends were battling for top, but like CS:GO is definitely still up there. It's still getting updates. It's still getting content. And it's honestly, it probably will for another few years before they even attempt to do something else. Like, not something else, but like they'll make the next series. But I think CS:GO was even like 10 years old, if I remember correctly. I mean, it's it's got to be older than that, because I just this year I got my 10-year badge on it.
You get your 10-year badge?
10-year badge on CS:GO.
Oh, that makes my eyes hurt. So yeah, Valve put out Half-Life Alyx. I don't think they've put anything else out in like the last 5 years. What was that card battling game they did? It's not Heroes of the Storm. That was Blizzard. I forget
Gwent?
I forget what it is, but they've already like stopped like servicing it, if I remember correctly.
I think I know which game you're talking about. I just don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name too. Whenever I listen to a gaming podcast, I'm always like, how do these guys not know the names of these games? This is what they do for a living. But now that I'm like here, I'm like, oh, I see.
We didn't do enough research, damn it. Not enough research.
I see why they don't have every game that ever exists on their mind.
Well, it's
Now
hard. There's so many, and there's
and
like
now I
different
feel like a
variations.
butthole. Escape from Monkey Island came out November 8th, which I thought this was super late for point and click adventures to be coming out. Super late. You're aware of it, right?
I'm aware of it. I just don't. If I remember correctly, Escape from Monkey Island wasn't as good as its predecessors, right?
What was before Monkey Island? Was it Full Throttle?
I don't remember.
Well, now you got me curious.
I'm already looking at because I can't remember. So you got Secret of Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, The Curse of Monkey Island, and then Escape from Monkey Island.
Okay, so I didn't realize Escape was a sequel. I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I knew it was like a sequel. I just didn't know how far into it. It's like I knew there was The Secret and then Monkey Island 2, but I didn't realize there was The Curse of Monkey Island even.
I see. I only thought there was one Monkey Island for the longest time.
Oh,
Josh,
man.
why don't you tell us about this? Tell us about this next one because you know more about it than I do. Final Fantasy IX.
Ah, yes, Final Fantasy 9. I think actually this is also another one that's is an Ivalice, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong.
Another one that's what?
It's in the same world as like 12 and Tactics. Ivalice.
I could not tell you. I'm a Final Fantasy VIII apologist because I love it and I think it was doing some great things and their little side card game was great. Seven and I think seven was actually the only one in the series I've ever finished. Have you finished nine?
I have not finished 9, so I've actually gone back. I've done everything except for 9, 10, 2, 11, obviously, and 14. And then technically Lightning's Return, 13.
Well,
Part 3.
13 got so messy. Like, oh, you want 13 and then Lightning Strikes Back and then, oh, this other one we were making, we're just going to turn it into 15.
I mean, trust me, I remember pre-ordering 13. It got delivered day of. I was so excited. And I remember playing and going, kind of sucks. Still played it and beat it, but I was kind of disappointed.
So 13 Verses, did that ever come out or was that what became 15?
That's what became 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was so weird because they announced 3 Final Fantasy games. It's like, just fucking put one out. Just put one game out. Like,
Yeah,
we
that's
don't
what
need 3
eventually-
Final Fantasy games right now.
Yeah, that's what eventually became 15.
Final Fantasy. I mean, it looks like a PS1 Final Fantasy game. I liked 10. I didn't beat 10. I got close to beating 10. I think I got to the
How'd you
last
beat
fight
10?
with Sin.
I mean, you're not really missing much either. People praise it, but I think the really last phenomenal was 7. The last good one was probably
I think 12 was good. 12 was good.
it was different. It was different good.
I like that they were just like, PS2's dead. We're putting 12 out on anyway. You want it on PS3? Fuck off.
You want a Final Fantasy game? Get a Final Fantasy game right here on the PS2.
You don't need a PS3 Final Fantasy game. You got a PS2 one right over here. Dad,
Stay here a
stop.
little longer. Let us work on getting. Actually, if I remember correctly, I think 11 was actually, the 11 was on PS2.
Yeah, can you even play 11 anymore? PC or PS2? Or has everyone just
PC
migrated to 14?
PC, I believe, yes. PS2 now.
Well, duh, yeah. I don't think you can play anything on PS. Didn't the last PS2 game come out like in the last 10 years?
Yes, but you can actually. There are people. So I was telling Matt this, our brother Matt, everyone who doesn't know, he loves Resident Evil. His favorite Resident Evils of all time are Outbreak and Outbreak File 2.
And you know what? When I went and saw him this summer, he was playing Outbreak. He was in the bar. He was in the bar scenario.
Yeah, he loves those two. So I had 2 plans in my head when he told me he wanted to play it, but no, he can't play online anymore. My first plan: learn how to build it from the ground up. Terrible idea. I totally regretted it.
Don't do that, Josh. Don't build that from the ground up.
I jumped down that rabbit hole and I totally regretted it. And I'm in IT, everyone. That tells you. So my next thought was, I'm gonna do some research.
Can't you just host it? Like, could you like host something for him?
So that's was my thought was somebody has to have a server somewhere, and they did. They were working on making them better, and they've been down for about a year, maybe over a year now. But I purposely look. I spent like 3 days researching it. Finally figured it out. Got it all set up. And he lives in Florida. I'm in Missouri, and I'm like, all right, here. I'm going to send you everything, and we're going to walk through it together. He could not figure out to save his life, and then he said, okay, well, when you come down, we'll fix it and get it working. I'm like, that's fine. And then that's when they shut down the servers. So he still plays it to this day.
He loves it. Like he was.
He loves. I mean, honestly, if he were to ever, and I mean ever, marry an inanimate object, that's the one.
It would be his copy of Resident Evil File 2.
Yeah, no, he would be a thruple with first Outbreak and Outbreak File 2.
I'm sad that you weren't able to get that working for him though. But then also you got to remember you have to find someone to play it with him.
I told him I'd play with him. I agree. I think that was honestly the first and only good multiplayer Resident Evil.
Which
one? The concept was fantastic.
What were the other ones? Umbrella Chronicles, right?
Umbrella Chronicles. Basically everything Umbrella you can think of. It has it in the name, and then 5 and 6.
All right, we're in the home stretch, Josh. You ready for this?
Let's do it. Power through it.
The next one I pulled up because it was like the last one just came out this year. Hitman Codename 47. I didn't realize was 21 years old at this point.
I didn't either, and I remember playing that a lot.
I didn't get into it until Contracts, and then I went back and played 2, and 2 was hard. Like especially once you hit the mountains of Japan, like it was tough. Just there's one where you're running through the mountains to get to this fortress, and like you can hide in the back of a truck, but even when you're in the back of the truck, people see you and you're setting off alarms and shit. I eventually beat it, but I was the silent assassin type. I wanted it perfect, and I never got it. Contracts, I got it. Contracts was tough too, but not as tough as 2. This never played it. I'm surprised they haven't remade it, but I'm glad that they went back and just were like, fuck it. We're IDOS. We're separate from everybody now. We're just going to do a brand new Hitman series, and people love it.
And it keeps getting better. Then the content. There's so much content to the new series.
And now they're doing a James Bond game.
Good for them.
Banjo-Tooie came out. I was never big on the Banjo series. People love it, though.
I mean, if you played any other platformer at that time, Donkey Kong 64, Mario 64, I mean, literally everything that had a 64 in the damn name, you were playing Banjo-Tooie at that point.
Can we talk about how good of a year the Nintendo 64 had, though? Pokemon.
Oh, it had a fantastic year. Nintendo in general had a fantastic year.
They had Pokemon. They had Pokemon Stadium. They had Kirby. They had, just scrolling back through these real quick, Excite Bike. Like there was, like they're not all bangers, but they had that James Bond game that we were talking about earlier. I think this is a going out party for Nintendo 64, and I think they had a great year.
I think this wasn't going out because they still had a few more bangers that came out towards the end of its life.
Yeah, there are actually still a few that we have to pull up here. But yeah, so Banjo-Tooie was another one. You get a handful of licensed titled games like Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker was a Game Boy game. I'm scared to type it in, but we're gonna see how bad it looks.
Do the PS1. Don't do the Game Boy Color.
I'm doing the PS1 one.
Okay.
I forgot there was a PS1 one. But I'm sure the Game Boy Color one was fantastic. Oh, you know what? I was talking shit, but from the thumbnail, that doesn't look too bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously limited for its time. Came out on the PS1 after the PS2 was already released.
Oh, this looks it looks blocky as fuck, but I mean, the colors look great on it. Combat, not so much. Like that Joker the enemy that just went, he's like, just a slow punch.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. But like I said, older console, everybody knew what they're going into. I mean, especially with the PS2 already out, it definitely showed its age real quick compared to that.
Quick side note: Batman Beyond has better villains than regular Batman. Moving on.
How dare you, sir? They have the same universe, damn it.
Yeah, so you get a Scooby-Doo game at the end of November. You get into December, there's an Aladdin game. Evil Dead: Hail to the King, which I don't think that was a good one, but like later on, some Evil Dead games came out. You get the 4th Pokemon game in a year, Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. My God. And then the last thing I wrote here, because everything else was just kind of meh, or a Japanese release, which so we'll see it again in 2020 or 2001, was American McGee's Alice. Which is American McGee still making games? Is he still doing his American McGee type stuff?
I don't think he is.
I don't think he is either. I think.
Well, let's see. What's the last thing he did?
Let's find out. The last thing American McGee made. Oh, he was still. They were still letting him do stuff. Cause what was that one game that was it? There was like a Malice.
There was Alice Madness Returns, Big Head Bash, Crazy Fairies.
Oh, he's making a new one, Alice Asylum. Doesn't say when it's coming out. So it feels like this might have been him updating his own page, his own Wikipedia page.
It's just him. He comes in every once in a while and just adds
Like,
something.
oh, I feel like making this. I'm just saying that I think it's him doing it.
I'm Josh. Yeah, oh God.
I'm Josh saying. I think that is it on the releases. Was there anything else that stood out to you, Josh?
No, like you said, there wasn't anything to really talk about other Japanese releases, and at this point, there wasn't any information. We didn't know there was a Mario Party 3 or Pokemon Crystal. I mean, it eventually came, but it was just, at this point, not available.
I got excited about that Monster Rancher that came out on December 10th, but I think there are some better ones later, and we'll save that for future stuff.
Yeah, I think that was just kind of like we're trying to get some money off this real quick because it's on PS1. We've been building it.
So then we are going to transition into the news. It's time for old news. We touched on some of the news that we were going through. We hit the heavy hitters. Here's one that baffled me from February. Electronic Arts acquires DreamWorks Interactive, the game division of DreamWorks, and it becomes EA Los Angeles, which I think is still around if I'm not mistaken. No, you know what? It's EA. It probably closed.
Oh.
In January 2013, Electronic Arts announced that Medal of Honor series was taken out of rotation and put on hold. Womp womp. Following the poor reception received by Warfighter, with this move, Danger Close was effectively closed. Some developers moved to other EA studios while others left the Los Angeles area. Some senior staff of Danger Close formed the groundwork for DICE LA, a sub-studio. So basically, they just got subsidized out. Basically, it's what's going to happen to BioWare and Respawn years from now. Because you know what? EA is really good at fucking people up. Buying that, like, here's some money. Now, we're going to run you into the ground, bitch.
like the rich guy who just purposely buys something just to destroy it.
Okay, they were known as Danger Close Games. So they went from being DreamWorks Interactive to EA East to Danger Close Games. So many damn names. Like, just stick to your one name. And now what's left of them is DICE LA.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Sorry that EA did that to you guys. Pour 40 out for DreamWorks Interactive.
The homies.
We talked about Nintendo and their Gameboys. It's still crazy. It still blows my mind. We talked about E3. Looking Glass Studios was shut down.
Which I don't really think they did anything that was like...
I mean, they did System Shock 2. Like they had some bangers. Like people.
Oh, that's right. They also did Thief, didn't they?
They did the Thief titles. Like people.
I forgot.
People younger than us will look back and be like, these guys didn't do shit. But
they helped introduce many huge aspects that are still in games nowadays.
But now System Shock 2, System Shock or whichever one of them's gonna remake, and then System Shock was
2
influenced BioShock.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, so you can still feel like not their presence, but their what they inspire the next generation to go out and do. Because people still love the shit out of BioShock. Sony bought Daybreak Game Company, the EverQuest people. They're known for owning, maintaining, and creating additional content for the games EverQuest, EverQuest 2, The Matrix Online, which is canon, by the way. SEO, we're coming for you. We got Spider-Man and The Matrix. Now if we could just sneak Dune in here, we're going to the top. Going to the top. They did DC. I forgot DC Universe Online was a thing. Free
It still
Realms.
is a thing.
Is it?
Not
Planet
so
Side
much
2.
console, but PC wise, yes.
H1Z1 just survived. H1Z1, King of the Hill. So these guys, it looks like, are they still around? Okay, Wikipedia says is and not was. So they are still alive. So Sony did not run them into the ground.
Wikipedia is not a reliable source, sir.
Third, I will have you know that they have a bunch of links at the bottom that take you to reliable sources. Thank you very much.
When they're asking me to donate $2.75 because I go use their free website, yeah, no.
Oh, they're not asking for donations anymore, by the way. This page has their booth babes for a request too. I'm clicking out of here. THQ gets Volition. These were formerly the Parallax Software Corporation guys. Oh, they're in Champaign, Illinois. This is the St.
Red
Rose team.
Faction and Saints Row, yeah.
St. Rose team. They're I think they're kind of at a crossroads right now. That new Saints Row just got pushed back. Probably need it to do well after Agents of Mayhem was an agent of chaos for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on.
Ubisoft acquires Red Storm Studio.
And they had a lot of stuff.
These are their Tom Clancy guys, right?
Yeah, these are the guys. I mean, they were doing Tom Clancy before Tom Clancy was cool.
Yeah, so
for video games.
They were Tom Clancy before Ubisoft was like, no, we're Tom Clancy.
and even after Ubisoft acquired them, they were still making Tom Clancy games. They are the ones who helped develop like Ghost Recon.
Do those GRAW games? Does Advanced Warfighter still hold up?
Maybe not as well as you think.
I think we should revisit at least the second one and see how it is. I think it'd be better than the newer ones.
Oh, you're talking about Future Soldier?
Yeah. But there was one after Future Soldier, wasn't there?
No, so it goes Future Soldier, and then it was Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, Tom Clancy's The Division.
They didn't okay, so then they didn't help with the new Ghost Recons from the last like 5-6 years.
Oh, I know. Yeah, you're right. I wasn't even thinking about that one.
I can't believe they helped with Far Cry, those two Far Cries, which I would say are probably two of the better Far Cries.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I don't think they did like lead development. Or anything. I think they just did like assets and stuff like that.
They're like, we'll make your guns feel good. We'll make your guns feel real good.
If I had to guess, they probably did the guns, the reload animations, the weapon design, and then the healing animations.
I mean, if you're good at something, why not?
Really, why argue with them?
And then they did additional work on both divisions, so they haven't really done anything in the last few years. So we might be getting something from them soon. I'm just glad that they weren't shuttered.
I'm surprised they were just doing so well. I mean, they were like, that's a lot of work.
NVIDIA acquires 3DFX Interactive, was an American tech company headquarters. Yeah, tech stuff. Blech. Blech.
And yeah, basically all they did was NVIDIA was just like, you know what, we're going to go ahead and just buy this company out so we can make ourselves bigger and have more. Yeah, they were just like, hey, we're going to try and eat the market.
Let's see. We get down. Mattel sells the Learning Company. That's not the TLC like the channel, is it? Yeah, it's the educational software. Wow. Okay. The Fisher Price series people. And then there's some unknown dates here. The one that really sticks out to me was that PopCap Games, born in 2000. That's right, PopCap Games, the Plants vs Zombies people, the Peggle people. I think it's crazy that they went on from mobile games to making a class-based shooter based on their Plants vs Zombie license.
I still can't believe you're, to be honest.
It blows my mind. Any other news, Josh, that sticks out to you?
Not really. I mean, this was honestly a solid year. A lot of things, good things ending, or things at the time that probably weren't good. But as you look back at it, like I said earlier, Nintendo's that satellite view system.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, one of the most interesting pieces for its time, way ahead of its time. And it's just like you look. I mean, back then, like I said, obviously you saw it and you're like, "Oh, it's really cool." Really crappy though, because obviously you didn't have the material to do it the way you envisioned it. But looking back at it now, it's like, man, that is really. I mean, I would never have thought. Like I said, I remember learning for the first time that you could plug in your PS2 into the phone line and be able to play. Like the only game I can come up to mind was like Ratchet and Clank Deadlock, and then you had the Resident Evil Outbreaks. Like that was so cool. Or even like the Budokai Tenkaichis, Dragon Ball Z. You could put all those online. And
I
then you
love how
get
you had to
this.
explain that to me.
Oh, I had to stop. I was like, oh, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about.
Blue Takaichi, sure. Yeah, I know that. I've been there.
Sorry, Nick, your Dragon Ball Z's.
So real quick, closing out. Highest grossing video games in the United States and Europe in 2000. Nintendo owns 4 of the top 5 spots. So you have Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Gold and Silver, Majora's Mask, and then number 5 is Gran Turismo 2. It's crazy. It's crazy that these are games that came out. Some of these were the previous year, so it's nuts. And then both Tony Hawk's are on there, The Sims, Madden, and then Diablo rounding it off. Josh, if you had to pick one game from 2000, you pick it, and the rest of them get erased from time forever. What game are you picking?
Honestly, Spider-Man.
Why Spider-Man? Don't say it's for the SEO. God damn it.
No, it's not for the SEO. Honestly, no, it's like one of the first superhero games I remember. Like, older consoles, I remember playing like the licensed Batman and Robin. Remember those?
Mm-hmm. The movie, the one licensed to the movie for like Sega and Super Nintendo. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are like my favorite older. But then you're starting into the newer consoles, and it's like there really wasn't anything. Like the only one that was like stuck out and like was really well received at the time was fantastic was Spider-Man.
And they
Does it hold up? No, but it's still good.
Like, didn't care if you knew the characters or not. They're like, oh, here's Punisher, here's Daredevil, here's all these villains. Here's some villains you may not know. And like putting all this lore in from the comics, giving you all these different costumes, letting you find old covers for old comics. It was cool.
I think it was the first superhero game to introduce voice acting.
They didn't do voice acting in those old X-Men games?
Like you're talking about like for the Sega and everything?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they had voices for those.
Did they? I don't remember. I don't think
they
did.
Not like cutscenes, but like while they were fighting and stuff.
Okay, maybe. Well, okay. But first, we'll have cutscenes. How about that?
We'll take it, Josh. We'll take it.
We'll take that.
This has been Josh's Facts That Might Not Be True corner.
Just coming out of the ass at this point.
Let's see. If I had to pick one, I'd most likely go Majora's Mask. I mean, it's Majora's Mask. It's the reason we have all these loop games that came out in 2021. It honestly is better than Ocarina of Time. I don't care who I piss off saying that. And you know what? I'm not unique for thinking that. There's a lot of dude bros out there like, oh, Majora's Mask, it's so dark and edgy. It's the one. The boss fights, take them or leave them. They're okay. I liked it for the atmosphere. It was sad. It was dark. It was what I needed when I was playing it in middle school when I was sad and dark. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna reverse it on you then real quick. Game that needs to be shot out of the water before it even lands.
Game that needs to not exist.
Yes.
Ooh. You really gonna throw that at me, homie? I would say, looking at this list, and I always hate like saying stuff like that because it's like, people put work in on this, but that Grinch game's gotta go.
I'm not gonna lie, I watched the video after you said something and I was looking, I'm like, someone really, really, really was desperate.
Some bigwig was like, oh, we need a Grinch game, and then when they saw it, they're like, yeah, the kids will pay big money for this one, let me tell you.
Was that as he was snorting some coke?
He was snorting coke and smoking a cigar. He's very fancy business.
I couldn't.
It's gotta go.
I almost did the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy, but then when I saw that, I was like, no, that someone gave love to the Little Mermaid 2 Pinball Frenzy. No.
All right, Josh, we've been going way over our time. There's no way every episode's going to be this long. What
No.
Do you have anything to plug on your way out?
I need a nap. That's the only thing I gotta plug.
This man is plugging his pillow.
Yes.
Josh is the new My Pillow guy. I'm Josh saying.
Okay, I'm gonna take that back. We're finding what do you have? What else you got to plug in here? Tell us.
I'm gonna plug. So I am Nick Fat Night on Twitch, streaming Tuesday as of right now, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Chicago time. I'm also going to plug my writing website, MV Kaufman. Great stuff there. Take a look. And I am that Kaufman on Twitter. Plug away, motherfucker.
Okay, fine. The only thing I'm gonna plug in is if you want to see our latest reviews and some of the greater games, go over to GameChronicles.com.
It's confusing. It's confusing because when I found the posting, I was looking at Video Game Chronicles. I think it's the UK website.
Oh,
The Video Game Chronicles. So I think it's an SEO loop because the other site got me.
they get you every time.
They get you every time. All right, everybody. I'm Nick. That is Josh. This is Smashing Game Time. We'll be back in 2 weeks when we look at the year 2001. What a year it was. It's the year of Halo, GTA, and my God, you thought 2000 was great. Wait until we talk about 2001. So until we see you guys again, everybody have a good night, and we are going to sleep.